I wonder how the liberals are perceiving their new president. Adds up as the crotch rocket was my favorite there, as it's not Trump launching the missiles, it's Joe Biden that has just authorized a major escalation in the proxy war between the East and the West in the larger theater of war inside of Ukraine. All of this as the Swedes are literally telling their population to prepare for an all-out nuclear Armageddon war. Yep, you heard that correctly. The Swedish government is literally handing out pamphlets and information about how to deal with a global world war conflict that we've been warning about for a very long time, and definitely looks like we're on the precipice of kind of achieving here, as it's important to understand here after one domino falls, a lot of others follow it, specifically in the larger theaters of war that's happening right now in the Middle East, in Asia. Also, there's crazy situations happening between Pakistan and India that's been brewing and developing for a very long time as well. As I think it's fair to say that the storm clouds are gathering and it's going to be rainy out there. As Joe Biden, looking spry here more than ever, has just officially announced. That's him. Yep. The President of the United States, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time, just authorized Ukraine to use U.S.-supplied long-range missiles for strikes inside of Russia. Now, there's a couple of misnomers about this particular story because everything around it is just factually incorrect. One, do you really believe it's Joe Biden here, the man who was literally seen walking into the jungle just a few hours ago, looking bewildered and lost more than ever? The guy that stumbles, the guy that can't even walk around properly. You think that guy made a complex geopolitical, larger chess move on the international stage competently by himself? Yeah, right. Two, another factor that needs to be understood here is that these long-range ballistic missiles that can carry nuclear and even hydrogen bomb capabilities, not saying they will, I'm saying they have the capabilities of doing that. These are huge, massive, major rockets that are extremely difficult, if not impossible, to stop, that could carry nuclear payloads. This is why this is such a larger escalation. Now, they probably won't have nuclear payloads on them, but the Russians don't know that. And then launching the missiles at another nuclear-armed country that has missiles that could or could not potentially have nuclear weapons inside of them is a grand escalation that is extremely dangerous, not just for the Russians, but for everyone in the world, as these long-range missiles aren't up for the Ukrainians to launch here, as it's important to note here, one, Ukraine, its military and its government is largely a larger proxy arm of the U.S. military-industrial complex and acts on the behests of the intelligence agencies that pull its strings. Two, these long-range missiles cannot be operated independently by Ukraine by itself, as they need direct support and assistance with satellite-linked capabilities that directly are done through NATO, the United States, and its other advanced military tech that the Ukrainians do not have the larger capabilities of implementing and using themselves. Therefore, it is directly the Americans, NATO, Western forces directly firing shots and advanced military tech that the Russians could think could be potentially nuclear weapons inside of Russian territory. This is why this is such a major, huge deal, as when the news broke a couple weeks ago that Biden was sending these advanced long-range nuclear-capable missiles, these ATACMSs, Army Tactical Missile Systems, we reported to you that the Ukrainians most likely will be using them. As of course, why else send these kind of advanced military systems that cannot operate independently on their own into the specific region? As there's even some bloodthirsty neoconservative Republicans, like Congressman Mike Turner from Ohio, that says that the decision is, quote, long overdue, applauding it, as his fellow Republican Congress member MTG literally criticized the decision, implying that it could lead us towards a world war conflict, which I agree with. As Green said on his way out of office, Joe Biden is dangerously trying to start World War III by authorizing Ukraine the use of U.S. long-range missiles into Russia. The American people gave a mandate on November 5th against these exact American last decisions and do not want to fund the fight. And a lot of this is just absolute lunacy. As of course, the United States has already provided $175 billion in aid to Ukraine. As it's not just the Americans that are going to be, of course, escalating the situation, it's also the Brits. As Zelensky just had this to say about the approval of these advanced missile systems in his country. Today, there are a lot of talk in the media about us receiving permission for respective actions. But strikes are not carried out with words. Such things are not announced. Missiles will speak for themselves. They certainly will. Glory to, quote, Ukraine. Those are the statements from Volodymyr Zelensky that is probably set on using these any moment at any time, which Russia has specifically responded to by saying this means that it's going to mean war, as Russia has even speculated about particularly hitting France or even Poland. Something that, of course, again, tit for tat, larger escalations, something I've been warning about for about 15 years here, as this geopolitical storm has been brewing for a very long time. So we saw the tea leaves, we saw the writings on the wall, and we warned a lot of people, and we're warning a lot of people right now on LukeUnfiltered.com, our own secret, not so secret society where we share a lot of insider details and dirt about what's really happening in this world with special behind the scenes videos. We just released 6 videos last week just for members exclusively alone, and we probably will be doing the same this week. Those videos, extremely important. All the stuff that we cannot talk about on social media, all the stuff that we could only kind of talk to our members, all on LukeUnfiltered.com. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? Click the description down below. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple to join. Just click right here, fill in a little bit of your information, bada bing, bada boom, you get emailed back a login, and then you get access to the 15 plus years of content centered around towards you being the healthiest, happiest, most amazing, successful version of yourself. If you're looking for a little pep in yourself, if you're looking for more success in your life, this is the way to actually have an honest approach about it, as we have masterclasses, seed oil cards, prep lists of items at the supermarket that you should avoid, and just an amazing plethora of offers of value that are only available for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. And that's not even mentioning the Apocalypse Survival Masterclass that you could download with one click of a button that will help you survive any kind of situation. Yeah, the Swedes, they're giving out papers. We have a full dossier of 50 plus extensive videos showing you exactly how to survive any and all situations if there would be a global world war. So that's free just for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. Signing up is more important than ever, as of course we're dealing with a lot of extensive legal battles that are an absolute drain and pain to deal with. But your support needed more than ever. LukeUnfiltered.com is where to go. Sign up right now, as of course we have to understand here, the situation on our hands is very serious, as now the Russians are officially speaking out against this, saying that this larger move will escalate this war, announcing that Russia would respond to what it is calling a reckless decision by Joe Biden and his administration, as they are expected to, of course, attack deep inside of Russia into a lot of their very important assets that they depend on. As already, if you look at the long-range kind of strikes that have been happening by Ukraine against Russia, they have specifically been going after their missile defense systems and their systems that will be used in the larger possibility of a nuclear war. Specifically, a lot of advanced aircraft, a lot of nuclear-capable aircraft have been targeted. It's almost as if, the United States and NATO is specifically telling the Ukrainians exactly where to attack here, because that's exactly what's happening here. As the Russians are seeing this as a direct kind of tit-for-tat escalation and a buildup towards a larger kind of nuclear exchange here that, sadly, a lot of geopolitical experts now see as a larger probability. As the Russian spokesperson said, the decision from the Biden administration is, quote, reckless, dangerous, aimed at, quote, quantitative change, a quantitative increase in the level of involvement of the United States in this conflict. As the Russian spokesperson specifically brought up comments from Vladimir Putin on this matter from September 12th that specifically said that these Western-approved weapons would mean direct involvement from NATO countries, essentially meaning that they have declared war on Russia. Now, what's going to be happening here? Well, again, how will the Russians respond here? They probably will respond by attacking the larger staging area inside of Poland, where a lot of the military aid and equipment is making its way into that country. There's also the larger possibilities of hitting French targets, as the French already have announced that they're going to be sending troops inside of Ukraine, as this conflict has just reached 1,000 days of brutal trench warfare, block by block, house by house, as a lot of the developments highlight a slow kind of steamroll, specifically by the Russians, that are slowly and surely gaining more and more territory inside of the Donbass region, which is, of course, a contested territory that fighting started all the way back in 2014 with. As this conflict has been happening for a very long time, slowly escalating, the pot has been boiling, and the situation is not favorable for the Slavic people of this entire region. And with the Russians making progress, slow progress, but progress, with their military advancement, with their conquering of previously held Ukrainian territory, the New York Times literally has an article that details how Ukraine is freed from restraint, when in reality, it is being led down a very dangerous pathway that eliminates and destroys its country's future. As Donald Trump Jr. literally is saying that the Biden administration is trying to start World War III before his father could take office. And I would have to agree with that larger sentiment here, as of course this makes perfect sense when looking at it from a deeper kind of perspective here. As it's pretty obvious, the American people voted to end the war in Ukraine by voting in Donald Trump, as the war in Ukraine was a major kind of recall of the status quo. The Biden administration that was slowly and surely escalating the situation in the region. And again, like the Daily Mail says, and like Vladimir Putin says, this is a very big step towards the start of World War III, and there's no other way to kind of see it other than that. As with this news, Germany just announced that they're going to be delivering thousands of AI-controlled drones to Ukraine. As internationally, there's a lot that weighs on this particular conflict, as there are already North Korean troops just waiting inside of Russia, specifically in the Kursk region, where there is soon expected to be a larger escalation from the Russians. As it's not just that territory that's at risk here, as of course, if there is a larger conflict between NATO and the United States, we could expect a larger conflict inside of the Middle East. We could expect a major conflict between China and Taiwan. We could expect a major conflict with India and Pakistan, and all hell will just absolutely break loose. And this is why Sweden is literally telling its citizens to prepare for a crisis or war, as 5 million households just received nuclear, cyber, and bio attack preparedness pamphlets. As we have to understand, non-conventional warfare and advanced military tech has progressed to the levels that our imaginations can't even conceive, the levels of destruction that they are capable of. As of course, nuclear weapons, if you remember them, they're old, archaic weapon systems that were used in the 1940s. Devastating, huge systems. Now imagine the advancements that have been slowly and surely made to those capabilities. Now imagine the fourth, the fifth, the sixth other kind of generational forms of war. Imagine other kind of concepts, especially when it comes to biological, engineered components that could be let loose, as well as there's no winners in war. There's only losers. As a future World War III would mean absolute total devastation of entire huge populations, as we have to ask ourselves, why are we doing this? Why are we escalating this? Why the American people, Donald Trump, are promising peace. Biden is doing the exact opposite of that. Now, is this some larger kind of political ploy to put Donald Trump in check here? That's something that I'm automatically thinking about. Is this kind of some last-ditch effort for the military-industrial complex and from the deep state and the intelligentsia to say, hey, we're in charge here. We'll blow everything up if you don't follow suit with how we want you to operate within Washington, D.C. You're going to continue this war, or else we're going to make sure that the entire game is flipped and utterly wrecked, just like the planet will be when we have our way with it. I think that's one of the possible kind of scenarios here. I think another one is this could be the last kind of grab by the military-industrial complex to get as much money as they can out of this situation that is dwindling, as the Pentagon has now failed their 7th audit in a row, as they are unable to fully account for $824 billion of their budget. All of this as Vivek Ramaswamy, who is now leading the Deutsche government department, is coming out and saying that he specifically will be auditing and putting in check these billions in waste and fraud from all these government bureaucrats that take away your money and just waste it away. Now, again, this is going to be an extremely crazy exchange between Biden and Donald Trump. How this scenario will unfold here. Will we even make it to Inauguration Day? As it definitely looks like the deep state, the military-industrial complex, and the forces that be are up to some really foul, sinister things here that do risk all of human life. And with that larger gambit, they do hold the keys towards a lot of negotiation positions that aren't really convenient for the American public, as we are in a new nuclear arms race. And it's not just nuclear, it's unconventional forms of warfare that are already probably implemented, as all bets are off right now, and the situation couldn't get any more crazier. That's just my perspective. That's just my opinion. We're going to be covering that in a larger extent with more amazing people in studio later on today here on this particular YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com. I'm going to have a special message for you guys there soon, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys subscribing to LukeUnfiltered.com, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on YouTube.com/WeAreChange.